So thank you everybody for joining today's webinar, where we're here to talk about SCOM's 2022 migration. So obviously, SCOM 2022 has been around for a little while now, and it's about time we got on it, basically. So let's look at how that looks in practice. But before we dig in, as always, if you have a question to ask, you're obviously welcome to use the GoToWebinar chat function, but we would much prefer it that you joined our Slack community, because then the conversation lives forever. And if a thought comes to mind after the event, you can go and ask it there. So go to scomathon.com/Slack, and you're able to join our Slack community. We'll be there ready to answer any questions. So without further ado, let's get going. So to introduce myself, so I'm Bruce Cullen. I'm the Director of Products here at Cookdown, and I have a very special guest with me. It's with great pleasure that I welcome Bob Cornelissen. Welcome to you. Good to have you with us. Are you there?
Yes, I am there.
Perfect. So great to have you with us, Bob. Yeah, all the buttons. It's always the way. They get you every time. Well, it's good to have you with us. I guess it'd be good to hear a little bit about you, and then we'll dig into the topic.
All right, let's move forward then. So just quick introduction of myself. My name is Bob Cornelissen, and the nickname given to me by the community is SCOM-Bob. Keep in mind that's with an O. I am now a 11-year Microsoft MVP for Cloud and Data Center Management, which used to be System Center Services. My work function is being the technical director at Topcore and being involved in a lot of customer-facing work. So my hobby is playing carom billiards. That's the billiards without the holes in the corners and the sides of the table. And I am also the charity ambassador for a charity called House of Tales from the Netherlands, so who help a dog shelter in Thailand where abandoned and often abused street dogs are kept safe from harm and taken care of. So have a look on Facebook for this name and please consider helping out a little bit. Just a little bit of where I work. So Topcore is an IT consultancy based in the Netherlands with team members spread across several countries and delivering consultancy services to customers of all sizes and verticals, with specialization in Microsoft monitoring and management tooling. We are best known for our SCOM services, so some of them are listed in here, being a SCOM health check to view and confirm the current status of your SCOM environment, and tips and tricks about how to move forward in the best way. SCOM training at different levels from operator to administrator to specialist, and of course our community efforts such as these free webinars that we are talking in now and our knowledge partner program. So the SCOM implementations, migrations and upgrades, and extending monitoring and dashboarding, which is one of the topics for today, and our maintenance as a service to help you keep your monitoring environment running and healthy. So this will be the agenda for the session in short. So basically we already did the first one. And now we talk about the SCOM versions to establish if and why you should or could upgrade your SCOM environment. I will briefly mention some new SCOM features in newer versions. And next we will discuss the SCOM upgrade tree and what other factors you should look at to decide what kind of a migration or upgrade you will select. And from there we will focus on the side-by-side migrations for this specific talk, where we mentioned some important points. And since we have Bruce here, we can ask him to say something about the Cookdown services and EasyTune and how it can help us near the end.
Almost rude not to.
yeah, would be criminal not to ask him. And of course, throw questions in the chat or wait until the end. And of course, in the Slack channel, you can also ask questions, and then we can come to that one later on as well. Somebody will be keeping an eye on that. All right, so we know that SCOM fits in the System Center suite, but what versions of the product have been out there and are they still supported? So one important thing I want to point out to customers and to you is the Microsoft support for the versions of SCOM you might have in use. In particularly also the difference between mainstream support, which is usually 5 years, and extended support, which is another 5 years, but it's a paid option. You might not all have that. maybe not even half. Right, so let's start with the older stuff. So SCOM 2005 is out of mainstream support and out of extended support. SCOM 2007 went out of extended support long ago. So let's move forward. Now we have SCOM 2012. That one has run out of mainstream support a number of years ago, and the last update for it was also long ago. Its extended support ran out a few months ago as well, in July 2022. So that's why this color is red as well. SCOM 2016 ran out of mainstream support also earlier in the year, and it went into the extended support for another 5 years. Now, I don't think we will see regular update rollups for that one anymore. So we've had the update rollup 10. It might be the last one. Maybe there will be another one if there's some security issue or whatever. Now, I know a few of you might have the semi-annual channel versions of 1801 and 1807. Keep in mind that it was always stated that support would only be for a few months, and that ran out early in 2020 already. So these should urgently be upgraded as well. Right, so SCOM 2019 is one of the current versions and has plenty of mainstream support and extended support to go, if you look at these dates. And Microsoft has released the next version of SCOM aligned with the new Windows version as SCOM 2022. Now, I suspect that about a third of you might be on the versions 2012 and 2016 and semi-annual channel, so I highly recommend trying to migrate to the last two versions in this list if possible. Of course, I would say preferably to the latest version, but there might be reasons for you to go for 19. So we have asked the community before the summer to fill out a quick poll about which SCOM versions they use in production currently. These are the results of that poll from this limited set of environments, obviously, which is a total of 127. We can still see that SCOM 2019 is doing well over half of the deployments. And the first 10% of environments have been upgraded to SCOM 2022 by now, and SCOM 1807 is still there at a few locations. I highly recommend moving those up to 2019 first, and then maybe to the next version after.
So the thing for me that's particularly interesting about that is there are more people on SCOM 2022 than I was expecting already, which is great to see. You know, obviously great for support, but also sort of features. You know, if you're going to get the most out of SCOM, it makes sense. You want the latest and greatest sets of features. But also surprising is we've still got SCOM 2007 knocking around in the background. Should be long dead, that thing. So interesting for an entirely different reason. But there we go. That's cool to see.
Exactly. In SCOM 2016 and 2012, 2012 are still there. So, like I said before, 2007, 2012, 1807 should urgently move to something newer due to all of the support being gone. And SCOM 2016 users have to consider that only extended support is now in effect, and not much will change for that version anymore. Slowly, more reasons will pop up to move to newer versions. For example, the SCOM agent being able to connect to log analytics is only going to be 2019 and higher soon. Which means my suggestion is to start that migration process as well. Now, we've done this poll a number of years in a row, and also combined that with data from others. So at the bottom, you can see the SCOM versions with the older ones at the start. I did put the 1807 version a little bit before 2016 because it is out of support for a longer time. So each version will have 4 bars where you can see its progression over time from the year 2019 to this year. For example, SCOM 2019, you can really see the increasing percentages in the first 3 years. And the older SCOM 2012 to go down with almost the same rate. And SCOM 2012 and semi-annual channels should have been gone by now or in urgent planning to upgrade. SCOM 2016 holding firm, but now we see it in declining numbers when it went out of extended support. And well, SCOM 2019 about half of the implementations are on that, and SCOM 2022 is increasing. So it was about 10% at this moment in time, but we are already a few months past, and I can tell you there will be a few more already. And we are also working on a few customers ourselves. So it is important to see there is progression there, and we should move away from these first two and maybe even the middle one onto the last two versions, I would say. So why would you want to upgrade to a newer version of SCOM? Well, first of all, I need to mention version support again. We have just seen in the previous slide that you would want to stay within or near mainstream support. This also has to do with the update rollups coming out for those with fixes and so on. Secondly are the new features. With every new version of SCOM and also with the update rollups come new features. This includes, of course, support for newer versions of Windows, for the SCOM infrastructure and agents, but also improvements in security measures, such as possibilities to use TLS 1.2 and group managed service accounts, which might be required by your company. And of course, we do know that migrating up in versions is sometimes depending on the licenses available for your organization. For those on software assurance, it is very easy to just keep moving up in versions. This is what you paid the SA for, but keep in mind that staying on the much older versions for price limits you a lot in the above mentioned items, and they might be running on Windows and SQL versions, which you also prefer to get rid of due to their age and support again. So let's name a few features for SCOM 2019 and keep it quite short. We have the full HTML5 dashboards without any legacy dependencies. We have added support for the new SQL versions for running SCOM. Maintenance mode improvements, also while starting it from the agent side. We have seen new Linux and Unix operating systems supported with agents and management packs. We also have seen the support for new Windows operating systems for running SCOM and also the agent. And we have seen performance improvements, which isn't always easy to achieve without messing up the code of a product. So that's already quite a thing. Next, we have the new features of SCOM 2022. I did a recent webinar at the SCOM-a-thon for the longer list of updates and what they look like. You can watch a recording of that if you want to know more. For now, I just want to highlight a new set of built-in and custom roles for administrator RBAC roles, whereby we have the read-only admin, for example, for auditors, and several options for custom admins who can be limited to, for example, only do agent management or work with notification subscriptions. We have an updated option for alert closure to be able to close an alert from a monitor whereby the monitor is still unhealthy. The new option would also update the health state back to green while closing the alert. So dashboards and alert lists now both show the same thing. For the installations, there have been improvements as well, especially while deploying to clustered SQL instances for these SCOM databases. Now in this version, there is full group managed service account support from the RTM version installer already. And a number of visual changes have been done to some of the views here and there throughout the product, based on requests made by the community. A nice one is, for example, the additional column in alert views, which point out if an alert is from a rule or a monitor, since that makes difference for us. And we have the Teams notification channel, which has been added instead of the old IM channel, which was there before. And of course, this version of SCOM can be run on Windows Server 2022 for the infrastructure components. Right, so we see the new features in either one of these versions or both. At some point, you make the decision to upgrade to a newer version of SCOM for version control or for the new features and so on. But what are the next steps? Well, you need to decide the versions that you are upgrading to. for Windows, SQL, and SCOM. This is because there is a relationship between them, which I will show you in a minute. And you need to decide the path to get to your desired version state, either through a migration to a fresh setup or an in-place upgrade scenario. A few of the thoughts around this decision comes from the previous line in here for the versions. So we might as well jump into the story about versions first. So to understand the upgrade scenarios related to SCOM versions, we have here the SCOM upgrade tree. It's a nice tree. Let's bring in the first set of long-term servicing branch version and how they can be upgraded from one version to the other. As you can see already here, skipping versions is not supported for an in-place upgrade. Next, the semi-annual channel versions were introduced and the path to get there. Next, the SCOM 2019 was introduced and also the upgrade path to get there. And now we have the next version of SCOM as the SCOM 2022 here. So keep in mind the right-hand side semi-annual channel is discontinued, so we will quickly start ignoring that one for everything going forward. So let's keep focus on the main versions there in that central row. Right, so this is the same graphic as I have been using it more often in my sessions. In the middle, we see different versions of SCOM and how you can upgrade from one version to the other, which are the in-place upgrades. As you can see, the supported in-place upgrade path are every time by one version up. Now we are going to make this more interesting by adding Windows Server versions to it. Right, so keep an eye on these lines floating in. So what these lines represent, if they are touching the SCOM version right in the middle, and I hope they are actually, is that this SCOM version supports the Windows Server version below and above that line. All right, so let's float in some Windows Server versions. So for example, if you are running SCOM 2016 here, you can run that on Windows Server 2012 R2 right below the line and to Windows Server 2016 right above the line. So that is the trick how to read this story. And if you are looking at SCOM 2019, you can run it on Windows Server 2016 below the line and Windows 2019 above the line. But you cannot run it on a version lower than that. And looking up at SCOM 2022, this supports running the infrastructure bits on Windows 2019 and Windows 2022, which is important to look at. Now in your design, if you pick a SCOM version to go to, you need to decide your Windows Server version for the underlying platform. And if you can, you go for the highest supported Windows version for this SCOM version. Because as you see, it makes an in-place upgrade to the next SCOM version possible. Otherwise, you are doing multiple upgrades at the same time for both Windows and SCOM. So you can already see where this is going. So let's add SQL to the story. So here are the SQL versions. And again, you sometimes see one or two versions above or below a line. So for example, if we are looking at SCOM 2019, which is here somewhere, you are looking at SQL 2016 or 17 or 19. And looking at SCOM 2022, this is going to be SQL 2017 and SQL 2019, well, with an update rollup. The newer version of SQL 2022 is still in preview, so it's not listed here as supported at all. And I don't know when it will be supported. You might be relying also on what the organization that you are in supports and what is ready for you. So you might even be the first one to ask if it is possible to run a new installation of SQL 2019, for example, in your organization. One other thing is that it does not happen that often that a newer version gets supported. So you cannot design a SCOM 2019 today and just take Windows 2022 as the base for it, because that's two lines up in this case. It's not supported. It might work, who knows, but it has not been tested and it's not supported. Keep in mind that the combination of these three is important for your backend and for the question if you can upgrade from the previous version to the next version, or from the one you design now to the next one coming after that. So in bullets, while we are deciding which type of migration we are going to do, the decision which method to use depends not just on the SCOM version, but also on the Windows and SQL versions as well, as we've just seen. If there are too many upgrades of these three products involved at the same time in production, there is a larger chance to mess things up. But also there will be many steps involved. In most of those cases, but not all, I do prefer to select a side-by-side migration in this case. So when going for a side-by-side migration, I have a tip for a side-by-side migration, and that is to set up your new environment on the latest version of the supported products, because it again gives you the possibility to later, for the next version, to do an in-place upgrade to the new version of SCOM, very likely. If it appears, of course. Right, Bruce?
The other thing that sort of comes to mind here, that from speaking to customers who've got this dilemma, even if in place is an option, there are often other reasons like good data hygiene that kind of come to mind that mean people don't want to take everything they've got in their current SCOM deployment and just simply upgrade it, because all the problems in that existing SCOM deployment, such as bad overrides, MPs that are no longer used, all of that kind of stuff, you still have those problems. The work is still there to be done post, regardless of the upgrade. So often, the getting a clean slate is an important factor for customers, in my experience too.
Yeah, true. And if it is the let's say a case in between where it's just a one version upgrade, so you can easily choose one or the other, I usually recommend, and we also do a SCOM health check. So if the health check shows so many green bullets, then you could say, like, well, it might be good to keep this set up and just in place upgrade it if it's possible. So that's also something. Right, so you set up the latest Windows, SQL, and SCOM services on the back end. You copy the configuration, your multi-home agents if needed, and you migrate with less production impact, because again, your old system is still running if you are using a side-by-side. But let us first start with this step. So for SCOM migrations and upgrades, the most important is to make a plan. There are too many moving parts to think that everything will be all right by inserting a setup disk and putting a weight on your enter key. And yes, I actually have one of those things right here. So I can slam on it.
Used often. So that's a real picture there, Bob, of your actual fist over the giant enter key.
Yeah, exactly. It's especially with the fist, that works the best. Or you can actually rest your head on it if you don't see your future anymore. So first, check the health of your monitoring environment and versions and settings. You need to have this information also for all of the next steps, because it's also, a health check is also an inventory basically. And you need to select a path to either upgrade up or migrate up. Depending on your chosen path, you make a list of steps needed to get to the end result. So first you put in the very big steps. These include Windows and SQL upgrades or fresh implementations. What do we need to do to get ready for those? Next, the upgrade or the implementation steps for SCOM in the main steps. And next you make these main steps and you split them up into more detailed steps. And often you need to consider process as well. So migrations could require new designs, project setups, budget, connections to other projects and products, and so on. You put the steps in a logical order. Granted, some steps will run simultaneously. So for each step, you determine how much time that it costs to get it done. Who is going to do these steps? This can be the SCOM admin, you might need a DBA, somebody at the networking or security team, or maybe an external consultant. Note if, for example, a change is needed and approved by the change board, or if others, such as monitoring users, need to be notified. That way you can work through your sheet and put checkboxes or change colors according to where you are for each step. And a timeline can be made from this as well. Some migrations take hours to days, while others require a process spread across several months. So for this presentation, we are skipping the story about the in-place upgrade. We've done that before, which I have covered in a session earlier. And instead focus on the side-by-side scenario first, where we migrate from an existing older environment to a new SCOM environment, which is built up right next to it. So firstly, you make a design of the new management group. Consider versions, as we have talked about before, for SCOM, Windows, and SQL. Very often, your existing SCOM design can just be used as the basis for the new one, if the same considerations still apply, outside of version numbers, of course. Think about high availability, security, the numbers of servers that you need, and the specifications. Are you going to use the same service accounts, for example, as the old SCOM environment, or are you just going to create new ones? Like we said before, for a side-by-side migration, you need to set up a new SCOM infrastructure. The existing one just keeps running in the meantime. So we set up a few Windows servers. We have the SQL database servers and SQL reporting. We set up a new management group with the first management server and keep adding management servers as needed. The SCOM reporting server will be built up. We have a SCOM web console server or any other web consoles such as SquaredUp. And we can get gateways installed as they are needed. In many cases, this does take some more steps within each item than I just listed here. And for that reason, I again highly recommend putting up a list of main and smaller steps for this, so you don't forget too many things. It's so easy to forget stuff. Next, when the SCOM infrastructure has been set up, you are looking at the migration between the two environments. Again, also here applies that it is good to have a list of steps, like this one, for example. There's talk about management packs, third-party management packs and solutions, user roles, notification channels, web watcher roles, and so on. Maybe there's even set up EasyTune. And the agent migration story is here too, which might be more steps in your case, because you might want to create a script and SCCM package to do the agent upgrade in some organizations, instead of pushing the agent through SCOM. And of course, at the end, there are some steps about cleaning up the connections to the old SCOM. And of course, the old SCOM itself needs to be cleaned up. But also don't forget about the documentation. We can chat about the steps further in another talk, but we are limited, of course, in time to a shorter hour here. Now, if you have immediate questions about this or need help, please come and find me at TopCore, or how to work with these kind of sets of plannings is also in our SCOM admin training, actually. All right, so I've mentioned the agent migration just now, and this is always an interesting topic, to be honest, because there are supported and unsupported ways, and it all depends on which operating systems that you are running your agents on, and which SCOM agent versions you are currently using and in the migrated situation. So assuming that you are doing a side-by-side migration, we are discussing that mainly today. We are often looking at multi-homing your agent from the old management group to the new management group. If you configured your new management group to receive new agents, these will start appearing there as well. Depending on your monitored operating system, and if you have packs for those in the new management group, you will start to see functionality will start to work as well. But you will have to look into upgrading the agent version as well at some point. First, which agents are supported for your operating systems? For example, SCOM 2022 supports running its agent on Windows 2012 and higher, just like SCOM 2019 actually. If you need to monitor an older operating system, what are we going to do? Maybe we can use an older agent. Secondly, how many levels are we upgrading this agent? Officially, the agent upgrade package supports only going up one version of an agent. If not, are we using an unsupported way to upgrade, or are we using multiple smaller upgrades or scripting something whereby you just loop through singular updates? Which leads us to this point. We can, for example, script an agent upgrade or a removal followed by an installation. So remove the old agent and install it again, which in that case means you might want to save your current configuration or just put it in that script. And then we can put that script into a package for SCCM or MECM. If we are going up one version, we could also use the repair option in the new SCOM server and just go to the SCOM console administration, go to the agents and use the repair option so that a SCOM 2019 agent will become a SCOM 2022 agent. Excuse me. So next, we saw recently Kevin Holman writing about using SCOM tasks to run the agent update. So his SCOM management pack contains a task to run any script, which means that we could host the agent installer files on a file share and just run a script to run the SCOM installer from the share and install the agent or upgrade it in the same process. And use a similar method for an update rollup, because again, you will call that file share, run MSI exec with the patch, and then you have them upgraded. For example, if you're doing this for SCOM 2019, you will want to follow it up with the update rollup 4. Now, like I said before, officially Microsoft does not support an in-place upgrade of the agent by more than one major version. And usually if you do this in the GUI, let's say in the GUI, it will try and stop you from doing this. However, this method that he explains actually worked so far also for multiple versions up. Now, Kevin did this for SCOM 2012 R2 agents and moving them up to SCOM 2019 on Windows 2012 and Windows 2016, which are still supported for those. We actually, on our own, we conducted a test with a SCOM 2012 R2 agent directly to SCOM 2022 in one step as well. And that also worked. One thing to keep an eye on as well are older operating systems. Unfortunately, we and others still get requests to migrate Windows 2008 agents into a new SCOM version, for example. Now, we did actually do a test where this same method even worked for that one. So we had a SCOM 2012 agent on Windows 2008 and just did a direct upgrade to SCOM 2022. It worked. However, you are going further and further away from the supported version. Also, keep in mind that there are more prerequisites. Since, for example, SCOM 2022 supports agents running PowerShell 3. And on Windows 2008 R2, you likely run PowerShell 2. And some workflows might not run. You might not have this problem with the old management packs, but you might run into this with the new management packs. And think about the SCOM agent management pack itself. So that one might run into trouble. If you want to upgrade to PowerShell 3, there as well, you need to keep in mind that some packs support older operating systems. An alternative might be to use SCOM 2016 agent on those older machines and then upgrade that to update rollup 10 and attach it to your current SCOM management group, to the new one. There might be just a few workflows not running and the rest might still work. there's a big chance that you can get it to work for monitoring 90% of the workflows or whatever, and continue working on getting rid of the old machines, because in the end, that's of course what you are hoping for. But yeah, you cannot win all battles just saying, hey, we need you to delete all of the old servers just because of SCOM. It's just one extra brick in the wall, I guess. All right, so now we've talked about the infrastructure and the backend and the agents. We need to talk about management packs, because management packs are everything in SCOM, and especially in relation to migrations as well. So there are several things to consider. There is management pack backups, which involves having offline copies of some downloaded management packs. And it involves having a copy of all unsealed management packs in your environment. You could do that in several ways. For example, using the Ops Manager self-maintenance pack rule to automatically dump all unsealed packs into a share every night and include that in a backup. Or you can use tools such as Select MP Studio to maintain your total management pack set, including the sealed ones, and even for multiple environments such as test and production. When we are calling it a backup, we still assume we do it for a reason. Of course, of something going wrong and we need to restore. Or we can use this as a backup of management packs in order for them to import them during a SCOM migration while doing a side-by-side migration. To use it for seeding the new SCOM environment with management packs. We need to consider third-party management packs as well. Think about the version of the management pack which is supported for your new SCOM version. And while doing a side-by-side migration, your management group name changes, and some third-party management packs have a license based on that name, and you might need to contact them to get a fresh license. I see you nodding, Bruce. Is that also the case for you?
I'm sure it's the case for everyone. Although, I mean, for our packs, you know, the minimum version today is the minimum version it's always been. So in that case, it's not really an issue, which is 2012 R2, but we come across it.
Yes. So, well, actually, I've never heard of a third-party management pack provider with the license with one name, which doesn't want to change it to the other name, as long as you still are a paying customer. Right. An important part to add. You probably have to download several sealed management packs from SCOM and third-party vendors as well. And next, we need to get anything which is unsealed. So these are the overrides, the views, run as profiles, custom monitoring that you built, custom reports which you might have saved in a management pack, and more. Click. So now that we have arrived at the unsealed packs, this is where things get interesting while doing side-by-side migrations. Firstly, you need to get all of these sealed management packs imported, which you need. Next, we arrive at the unsealed management packs. And here we may run into things. Often while we move to newer SCOM versions, this is also a nice opportunity to find out that there are some packs newer than the ones that you have been using in your current setup. For example, since the year 2016, a number of Microsoft packs got changed from version specific to version agnostic packs. In some cases, this meant a complete overhaul of the management packs with different classes and so on. This also means your overrides pack for the older version will no longer work, and you may have to create a new one. Now, there are packs which stay the same in class structure and only have minor updates for newer versions of the pack, and in those cases, your overrides made for the previous version should largely work. However, while migrating to a newer set of management packs, this is important. Also because there are many references in unsealed management packs to the management packs of, for example, Windows and SQL, to name a few. And if they suddenly significantly change, you will have to update your unsealed management packs containing overrides or views or even empty references and clean those up before being able to import them. Some views or distributed apps might reference specific GUIDs, which would stay relevant if a similar base management pack is used, such as for Windows or SQL. But if you start using a management pack with a completely different class structure, those items, they will not appear anymore in your custom views until you fix all of that. Now, some management pack migrations might be very simple, and sometimes the cleaning up of some things can be done later if first the same set of sealed packs is imported into the new SCOM environment. But when the opportunity is taken to change a few more things at the same point in time, it may mean more work on the management packs. Something which also often needs fixing is web watchers. When you use the templates to monitor websites, you are pointing to watcher nodes or resource pools. After import, you may need to go into all of those web templates and reselect which watcher nodes or resource pools to use for those checks. Because, well, basically you set up new management servers, and if you are using those as the web watchers, then you will need to reselect those. By the way, this is also an opportunity to remove old management packs which are no longer needed. Maybe you no longer have Windows 2008, so you can get rid of all of those management packs for the new setup. You don't want them. Right, so what is one way to approach this? For example, you could first do a migration of management packs from the old production environment into a new test environment. Here you can get to clean up the old management packs you no longer need and their override management packs. Also to add in newer versions of packs, both sealed and unsealed, and adjust the references. There are likely a few places where new overrides need to be made, or it might be an opportunity to completely overhaul some custom or override packs. You will find that removal of some references to old packs takes some time, and there might be some unused or empty references as well, which you could clean out as well. And from here, you can use the new set of downloaded packs and the new override packs and custom packs and transfer them directly into the SCOM production environment on the new site, on the new platform. The step between those two is easy, the last two, let's say, because you already cleaned everything up. Of course, you could go directly between the two production environments, as many will do, as Bruce also knows. But make sure that there are not many agents in there yet, and you are especially not creating tickets and emails on the new environment while you are doing that, because you will go crazy until you have finished cleaning it all up and making it the way you want to have it. So Bruce, have you seen many trying this method, or is it still production to production?
I've seen a mixed bag. It tends to be, in my experience, that the bigger the company, the higher the chance they've got a prod and a pre-prod or test. So then they'd often go, and upgrade their test to their new test, old test to new test, which is a good step in the right direction. But then they would go from new test to prod, but not realizing that their old test and their old prod environments aren't in sync. They're not the same. So that's one thing I would caution against, that I've seen quite a few times. And this method makes a lot of sense, essentially. You want your test environment to be as close to prod as possible, because otherwise, kind of, what's the point, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you might as well set up a new test environment next to the old test environment, basically, and then migrate from old prod to new test, and then from new test to new prod, which is like really, really simple once you have that, because you have already downloaded all of the management packs, you have all of the overrides, you have all of the cleaning up done already. So that is just, copy paste all of the management packs, basically. That's should be easy. So as I said before, there are several tools and methods out there to facilitate management pack migrations, ranging from manual work in XML files, which I often run into, to using tooling which can actually help you, like DevOps repositories, automation, EasyTune, asking Bob to take care of it, who will then ask a colleague to take care of it, to, for example, using the Select products for this. There are also combinations possible and likely, of course. So since we have Bruce here now, I just want to ask if you can tell us something about how some of your cookdown solutions can help us in this
Of
case.
course, no problem at all. Well, I think EasyTune is worth kind of talking about. If you click on for me, oh, in fact, I can have the powers click too.
Yes.
Everything that EasyTune is based on is based around CSV files, essentially, which we call tuning packs. These contain the would-be tuning that you're going to apply to a SCOM deployment. These are worked between the SCOM administrator and domain experts, so people that know about whatever it is we're trying to tune, so IIS or SQL or whatever it might be. These are also contributed to from our community store, which is in fact just a GitHub repository filled with tuning packs, because ultimately, while every single company wants to do their own thing as far as tuning is concerned, you do find kind of commonality. There'll always be a prod and a non-prod scenario. There'll always be different tiers of servers that people care about less or more monitoring for. And we've seen it kind of all before. And this community store is contributed to by you guys, the experts in the field, essentially, with new tuning packs and updates as things change. So these CSV files are taken by EasyTune, which is a management pack, unsurprisingly, that goes into SCOM. It consumes the tuning packs and ultimately applies overrides in SCOM. But these are stored in override management packs. They're programmatically generated. They have a sensible name, so you're not left to SCOM admins typing their own MP names, which sometimes works, but without a sort of sensible naming convention can lead you astray. They also contain in the sort of knowledge tab information about what's in them, so you can see at a click what this management pack contains, which is really important. But then I think the next thing that's important to know is how this relates to upgrades. So if you installed EasyTune in your old SCOM deployment, your SCOM 2012 R2, for example, deployment, and you're looking to migrate to SCOM 2022, you can actually capture your effective overrides from the old SCOM deployment to save them as CSVs. So if in our old SCOM deployment, we have something that looks like this, so we've got 4 groups, a bunch of objects spread between those groups. We've got some objects that are in multiple groups. We might want to capture the specific tuning for a single object. So let's take this object D, for example. This is in 2 groups, and it may have tuning applied to the individual objects as well. We might want to capture that tuning. We might want to also capture the tuning for a specific group. Because we're basically capturing that tuning and saving it in CSV file, which is it's just a spreadsheet ultimately, which is part of its beauty. It's nice and simple. And you want to go and then make a few tweaks to that file. You can just pop it open in Excel, have a fiddle. All the tuning is essentially captured in what are called levels, which is just basically a column of the spreadsheet containing the override value you're going to set. Now, part of why this is really important is because it's just Excel, not something weird and wonderful. You can take that spreadsheet to the domain expert, to the SQL guy, to the IIS guy, whoever it might be, and go, hello, this is the tuning we had. How does this look to you? And sort of curate that and refine that. Especially some of the things you mentioned earlier, Bob, about how MPs can evolve over time. A new version of an MP might introduce new workflows, for example. So you might find that over time your tuning, while it hasn't changed, becomes suboptimal because you find the new workflows are still alerting when you don't want them to be. You can address all of those sorts of issues at this stage because all of the things that it's possible to tune are also available in there. So that's the kind of gist. I'm not going to give you a demo today, but what I will do is just give you a link to a demo video. So I've done in the past a 7-minute demo all about migrating between SCOM management groups where I did a demo of this exact scenario. So if you go to bit.ly/SCOM 7min migrate, very original URL, I'm sure you'll agree. But the whole idea there is this whole scenario is kind of shown in reality. EasyTune itself is free. It's available on cookdown.com. There's a paid-for versions as well, but you can get going for free. So do just go and check it out and have a play. And of course, if you need anything on EasyTune, you can give me a shout. And of course, if you're looking to get going in production with it, Bob has many miles under his belt with EasyTune as well. So I'm sure I'll be more than willing to help. So that's kind of a crash course in EasyTune, really, and specifically as far as upgrades are concerned, we help make the piece around migrating tuning much more simple and straightforward. I'm not going to go about it anymore, and I'm not going to give you a demo, not today.
Well,
I'm going to
we are
let you
going on about it, but on a
not
different
too
date.
much.
So I was actually planning on creating some blog posts and doing a short webinar directly with Bruce as well about this topic for like one of the example cases which I had at some customers, how we went about it, how we used this product, and how we filled in the overrides basically in then different tuning levels for different groups. So that's an example which we will talk about in the future. We just need to plan it sometime. But
Indeed,
it's coming.
indeed.
It's coming.
Time is short, and the thing that's really important there is kind of best practices. There's so many ways of skinning this particular cat. Do you tune individual objects? Do you tune groups? Do you tune globally? You know, what's the right thing to do, and how is that implemented within the tooling you've got, essentially? So that's going to be the focus of that piece of content, and I can't wait to do it. It's just a case of finding some time. We're both able to do it.
Great.
All right. Is this the right slide? Is there more?
Well, there is more, but this is the SquaredUp slide. So that's you.
Ooh. I think this
You
may
have the
be in
shirt
the
on.
wrong place, but in which
You have,
case I'll do this now. The gist here really is that SCOM-a-thon is put on by a bunch of sponsors, and one of those sponsors is SquaredUp, which is who the slide is for today. So SquaredUp are the not so secret scores for SCOM success, providing awesome dashboards that sit on top of all of that data that exists inside of SCOM to make use of it in a way that you can't do natively within SCOM. All of that perf data that's in there, for example, it's very, very powerful, but if you can't see it, it's not doing a whole bunch for you. But SquaredUp will not just do that, but it will pull together all of your other enterprise IT type tooling to give you a single pane of glass on top of all of your tools. Then we have Cookdown, which is the company I'm involved in. Our main product, obviously we've mentioned EasyTune already, is Connection Center. So Connection Center is all about connecting SCOM to all of the places you might want to connect it to. We mentioned in this webinar, obviously, that SCOM 2022 has Teams, which is fantastic news. It's been long missing from SCOM and is a sort of important capability for the platform. But if you're not on SCOM 2022, or even if you are on SCOM 2022, there's no solution for connecting to ServiceNow, which is obviously an ITSM tool. So we also connect to places like Sharewell as well to raise incidents and of course tasks from all your existing SCOMlets. But we can also help you with connecting to messaging tools like Slack and Teams. So obviously you don't need Teams if you have SCOM 2022, happy days. But ultimately we can push SCOM alerts to anywhere you like with the power of webhooks, which is a very important capability because then you can do more from your SCOM alerts. If you look over the Cookdown webinar catalog, you'll see an example where I used Logic Apps to automate away the resolution of alerts with Logic Apps. Very cool. But not only that, we also help you get data into SCOM from all the places that you have alert type things around your monitoring solutions. So you might have multiple monitoring tools from memory from the big SCOM survey. I think it's 2.7 monitoring tools plus SCOM the average company has, so quite a few of them. So these logos will be very familiar to you guys. These platforms all support the humble and mighty webhook to push those alerts across into SCOM, so you can make SCOM the center of your world, which is very important. Do go and check it out. It's all at cookdown.com, where we'll offer you a free trial of anything you see and, of course, give you a demo. And if you have any questions, I'm sure we can help with those too.
Yeah. So also I want to announce something nice for you all as well. So during the Microsoft Ignite event and a few days around it, we are running a promotion through our special promotions page, the URL being at the bottom there. We added a little bit of a Halloween spirit to it, so you can see that in the pictures. So when you use the payment buttons on the specific promotions page for Ignite, you will see that the price is half of what it is normally. So you can check on our website on the services what the normal prices are for the operator and administrator trainings, and also, by the way, the planning is there. If you cannot use the payment buttons, you can also arrange for a PO to be sent by your finance department to us within those days, and then we will send an invoice at the adjusted rates. This means you can either be off very cheap, or you might want to send 2 people for the original price. Also, you can pay during that week and take the training a few months later, or order for a whole group of people and then attend at different dates, which is also possible. So there will be other promotions coming up for our services, but potentially also some of our partners might pop up here if they have a special promotion page for some kind of an event. Then we will link them from this page as well. So I would say this is the opportunity to get your operators and administrators trainings in from us. This is like a really good deal. So jump on it and get as many people in there as possible at a good
Always
price
good to
point.
get a deal. One thing I would say on the training quickly is, again, from the big SCOM survey, one thing that people are crying out for is training for SCOM. Microsoft don't offer anything that looks like credible training, and so regardless of kind of the sales side of things, this is a valuable service that Topcore offer that isn't offered really anywhere else. So promotion aside, it is a valuable offering to your company, and it's not offered by Microsoft. So you're filling a valuable gap there, Bob, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, we have tried to keep the normal price point already very competitive, because we are more interested in training more people than gaining as much as money as possible from as few people as possible. So our goal is to train as many people as possible and then have them be able to work with SCOM in the right way, which it's still a big product. So it does take some time to get to learn how it works in the back end, and then if you understand it, things get easier and easier for you. All right.
It's very true.
So,
and then final thing to mention is HackSCOM. This is sort of for the future. Then we're going to go on to Q&A. So do hang on for Q&A as well. There are some questions in the chat. So HackSCOM is coming up on the 29th and 30th of November. So a couple of months' time. It's the very similar format to last year, but if you missed it last year, well, one, you missed out, but two, don't worry, because this year we'll get you covered again. The whole idea is it's a competition where you guys, the audience, get to suggest what is built. We also are asking for competitors from the community to come forward and compete for the crown as to whose solution is the best. And of course, Bob, you were one of our judges last year. You're back again for another crack of the old whip, which will be great to see. The winner's solution wins a donation to a charity of their choosing. It's a bit of fun, and as far as you guys, the community, are concerned, you might get your solution fixed, which is always good. Who doesn't like a free MP to fix a solution that they have in reality? So do go to scomathon.com/HackerSCOM 2020-2022 and register to attend. And of course, when you register, give us your ideas for what you want built. Last year, that was where we got all the ideas from. We didn't have to create any ourselves, which is fantastic. Better to be providing value to the community. So that's that. Looking forward to seeing you all there. Oh, we both clicked at the same time, Bob.
Yeah, you. All right. So now that you've made it this far into the session, we will be issuing these badges to you, the one on the left. Assuming you did not use Batman123 as your name and email address. If you did, then please simply contact us, and then we will get that fixed. It will come in the next email coming through the Badger platform sometime soon. So we have a list of these badges that you can get by following our sessions, either presented by Topcore at either events or by ourselves, doesn't matter, but also from the past. So have a look at that. It might be fun also to be in that. So we have now landed in the Q&A section. So let us have a look at the questions that we've received so far in chat and in Slack.
So the top of the list one is about the thorny issue of Project Tequila, which in brackets is SCOM-SAS. The question is Project Tequila not there anymore? So this question came up right at the beginning when you were showing the different platforms and how long their support is for. So Project Tequila hasn't yet been released. Watch this space. We're not allowed to say anything on it, but do watch this space. It has not disappeared. Do watch the space. That is the answer to that one.
I can say something about it, but very limited, of course. So Aquila is just a code name, as you know from Microsoft other products as well. So they are actually, it will be called differently. And I think it has already been mentioned in the past. But so it will have a new name, and it's in a private preview right now. So it's being worked on. And yeah, they are receiving feedback from those test customers and from a few other people also like us, who give feedback and also working towards the future as well. Like for what do we need to have this, or why would we need that, or what do we need first? So all kinds of things is what we are discussing. And well, like I said, we cannot go into the specifics because we are not allowed to. Just know that this is a running process, and it's actually gaining some speed as well. So very good.
Yeah.
So yeah,
very
that's.
exciting.
I'm sorry, I can't. We can't spill the beans completely on that.
Everyone's under NDA, but as soon as we're allowed to talk about it, you rest assured we will.
Yeah.
So that's the first question. Moving on before I say something I regret and I have Microsoft lawyers banging on my door. So the next point is I often pick up side by side for the reason that if installation wizard during in place fails, your management server stopped being one. Was that fix? Not sure I fully understand the question. If your installation fails during in place upgrade, the impact on your management server, I think, is essentially the question.
Yeah, because I think maybe because at that moment it will uninstall the DLLs and executables, let's say, and in some cases it cannot do a rollback to the previous state. So that is, if that is the case, then yeah, your management server is at that moment destroyed. And it's difficult to get back then to a working situation because either you need to keep moving forward from a clean server or move backwards again. But also keep in mind that if you need to go backwards, the database will have been touched at that moment. So you also then need to recover both databases, including the data warehouse.
Messy.
So either do that, keep good backups right before you start doing this, or maybe also combine that with creating some snapshots of the VMs, so you can really quickly go back to a point in time. And then, of course, after the successful migration, get rid of your snapshots, because otherwise the VMware or Hyper-V admins will not like you very much.
Yeah, indeed. And I guess the risk there is lower if you've got multiple management servers in your management group, because if you get to the point where you've got one that is no longer a SCOM management server because the upgrade failed and all the DLLs are removed, then you still have the other one. But yeah, absolutely, good backups are important. All right, next question. Can you explain how the multi-home agents work in a side-by-side upgrade? We're upgrading from SCOM 2012 R2. Can we do side-by-side upgrades 2022?
Yes, you can. So how multi-homing works is basically you have the same agent, which is there already, and it has a configuration in that agent. So it can potentially talk to 4 management groups at the same time if you configure it to. Usually it's going to be only one, but during migrations, usually it's going to be two management groups. So you just add the configuration to another management group to that same agent, and then your basically 2012 R2 agent will start talking to the SCOM 2022 environment. So it might, have some problems at some point because the new agent management pack doesn't expect an agent of that age to be there. It might have a PowerShell 3 command in there somewhere, which the agent doesn't understand. Some new features like scheduled maintenance mode will not work unless you have your agent also upgraded. But that is usually how it works. So either you take the old agent and then multi-home it to both, and then after a while you can take away the multi-homing to the old server, and then you are left with the agents in the new management group, and you can update your agents. And in some cases, I've seen people first update their agents through a script, for example, and then multi-home them to the newer version. That's also a possibility. But just keep in mind that there's a big difference between 2012 and 2022. There are multi-steps in between, so some functionality might not work as you expected, but most stuff will work.
Perfect. Good answer. That's the last question I've got. There's nothing in Slack. Those are all the questions in GoToWebinar. So we'll just give it another minute in case there are any final burning questions from anyone. So get them in now if you have them. Still
Always good
silence.
burning questions.
So I think we have answered all the questions, which is great.
Woohoo!
So all that's left to do is to say thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much to you, Bob, for joining me today. And we look forward to seeing you. Oh, I was just about to end this, and there's another question. Which
Good.
course covers planning is the question.
So what?
Which course covers planning is the question.
In the SCOM admin training, we have a story about that. Keep in mind that for following the SCOM admin training, you do need to follow the SCOM operator training first. So
Makes
like
sense.
a prerequisite. It usually runs like a week beforehand, before the other one.
Perfect. Yeah, you have your answer. All right. Thank you everyone for attending. I hope this has been as useful for you guys as it has been for me. And thank you, Bob, for joining me once more. One more question. Oh, this is going to be a theme, isn't it? I'll start to end and then there'll be another question. Let's see. Is there a way to prevent automatic updates running and installing UR on the servers?
Well, normally it doesn't automatically install those, to be honest, on servers. The only place which might force the automatic update is if you automatically accept and approve them in WSUS for the agent updates. But for the rest, normally it doesn't.
Yeah, it would be something to take up with whoever manages your patch management, because it's not wouldn't be classed as part of the core Windows operating system, so it is disableable, but sort of centrally rather than on each individual machine, I would think.
For some customers, when they are using, for example, WSUS or WSUS with SCCM, it is possible to update the agents using that method for the agent side. I would only do that. And then, for example, do that 1 month afterwards. And then you can just let it follow along with the Windows patch management at the same time. But usually I will then just wait for a month and then first go for the test environment, then have a number of test machines, of course, and a few production machines done already. And then say, okay, now it's time, and have SCCM or WSUS take care of the rest. Or, of course, use another method that you want to use.
There are many options are available. Yes. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. So that is the last question, I think. We'll see. Thank you very much, everyone. Until next time, don't forget to sign up for HackSCOM, and we'll see you there. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye.